With the departure of Io Shirai, Queen's Quest has been the subject of debate. Some think they are going to suck now without their leader Io, and others, including myself, think they will be just fine. This video is not going to be about that, but about the history of this group, from creation to present day. Queen's Quest has had a rocky history if you think about it. Mostly just failures of plans over and over again. They would clearly be going in one direction and one thing or another changed that, and all of a sudden they have to change their plans. In the most very basic retrospective of their history, Queen's Quest is the best at both succeeding and failing. So with the introduction out of the way, let's get to the rocky history of my favorite group, Queen's Quest. To start this section of creation of Queen's Quest, on the day that Io started the group would be a disservice to the whole storyline. Io Shirai was, at the time, in a tag team with Mayu Iwatani called Thunder Rock. A pretty much unstoppable combination, with the best wrestler in the world, Io Shirai, and one of the best women wrestlers, Mayu Iwatani. At the time, they were dominating Stardom, and the earliest I could find them being referred to as Thunder Rock is on the wiki for the Goddesses of Stardom on May 6th, 2015. They might have been referred to as Thunder Rock before then, but I was not able to find anything showing that. For example, they held the Goddesses of Stardom belts for 407 days. For over a year, they were the top tag team in the company. It isn't like they didn't defend it either. They had 10 defenses before losing it. Thunder Rock was the perfect combination of wrestlers, and they seemed to have the best chemistry. Mayu being the dorkiest person on the planet, and Io being the happy-go-lucky, lovable babyface. Everything seemed to be going pretty great until November 11th, 2016 during the Tag Team League Finals. It was Thunder Rock versus BY-Ho, a dream match of the ages, but something seemed off with Io Shirai towards the end of the match. She seemed to be standing outside the ring, not willing to help her partner. While Io Shirai stood outside the ring, Mayu got ganged up on by Kairi Hojo and Yoko Bito. For as good as Mayu is, she isn't that good. Io later says that she planned on starting a new team with Mayu included, but I think her performance in this match must have ticked off Io, which is strange because Mayu really didn't do it bad or anything. If they would have continued on as a team, they probably would have won the match. Io very clearly hits Mayu during this match. It's not one of those sequences where the opponent dodges out of the way. She intended to hit Mayu, and then for the rest of the match, Io turned her back on Mayu, leaving her to defend herself. So as expected, Mayu gets pinned and Thunder Rock loses. Mayu crawls out of the ring and walks to Io, where Io begins attacking Mayu relentlessly. It's clear here that Io and Mayu were through. Io had turned heel and started a new group without her. This here is the beginning of the group we know as Queen's Quest. Originally, Queen's Quest was going to be a new heel group, and for one reason or another, they transitioned later into the tweener group we know of now. I believe the reason they changed was a combination of different things. One is that they already had Oedo, a well-known and well-liked heel group, so it wouldn't make too much sense to have two separate heel groups. Another reason is that it seemed that the original plan with Queen's Quest was to make them true heels, which Stardom tends to not do. The heels in Stardom tend to be heel light, scoundrels that cheat but are lovable. Next is a reason that could easily be dismissed. But I really think Io just isn't able to be a heel. She's just too talented to be one. She can be as cocky, arrogant, and snobbish as she wants, and to some extent, it would be fitting. She is that talented. She is above everyone else. So it's hard to take her arrogant attitude in a bad way, because it's more like just stating the truth, and less like hyperbole. So there it is. Two longtime friends broken up about Io Shirai's lust for power and dominance. She threw everything and everyone away to start this new group, and rebrand herself as Queen. Although something seems missing, right? How are you only going to start a new group with only two people? If you remember, Io said the original plan was to start a new group with Mayu, Io, and Hazuki, so now without Mayu they are one member short. But it wouldn't be too long before Io corrupts another young up-and-comer to the dark side. With Queen's Quest being established, it seemed a little lackluster. Only 2 members for a supposed new supergroup, but the fans didn't need to wait long, as literally the next show on November 20th, 2016, their 3rd member was introduced. Much in the same way Io announced her defection, Momo Watanabe betrayed her teammate in the match. Towards the end of the match, Momo betrays Mayu and lays down to let Hazuki pin her. I don't know how much of this was planned, but the fact that Mayu was betrayed by her teammate 2 shows in a row is kind of crazy. It's no wonder that she has so much trouble being a team player up until recently. So Queen's Quest now has 3 members. Just like with Io, Momo has connections outside of her new group that she needed to break. Her tag team JK Green and her 3-person team with the Rookies. Now, while I think Momo was the worst one when it comes to being a heel, she does have a dark side to her. You can tell by the way she seems to enjoy taunting people when they are down. Momo here seems to find pleasure in telling a heartbroken Jungle that they are through. Jungle doesn't want to give in so easily though, pleading for Momo not to do this, mentioning how Jungle had helped her with her homework. It's clear that Jungle cares for Momo quite a bit. Jungle always seemed like a very loving mother type, and up until this match, Jungle seemed to have a connection with Momo, so it was very heartbreaking to see Jungle crying while Momo turned to the dark side. I've always wondered how Queen's Quest was decided to be made. I have a couple different theories, and I haven't seen anybody mention anything about it yet, so if there is a source on this stuff, I would love to hear it. I really only see Queen's Quest being created in 2 different ways. The first one is Io herself wanting to take on 2 up-and-comers who had a lot of potential. Momo and Hazuki are both being groomed into running Stardom in a couple of years. I could see Io wanting to take on some protege and teach them to make sure their potential is reached. The other reason I could see Queen's Quest being made was because Stardom needed to break up Thunder Rock and Freedom. These 2 teams were so overpowered that if they didn't break up, there was no one who could compete against them. When your top 3 people in the company are all on the same team, it stifles any growth in the company. So taking the best one out and having her team with 2 mid-carders adds some competition and makes it so others have a chance of winning, since Momo and Hazuki at this time could be pinned by numerous people. Whether Queen's Quest was made as an excuse to give Io some disciples or to bring balance back to Stardom, Queen's Quest to this day are still around and as dominant as ever. Since their creation, Queen's Quest were setting in stone that they were a force to be reckoned with. In their 3 matches during 2016 after their creation, Queen's Quest won 2 and lost 1, showing that this wasn't just a makeshift group. It was a group of talented wrestlers that Stardom would now have to be on the lookout for. In the beginning, Mayu Iwatani and Jungle Kyona were a part of all 3 matches, being the 2 people most afflicted by the creation of Queen's Quest. The only time they lost was when going against a team of Mayu, Kairi Hojo, and Jungle Kyona. Mayu and Kairi on the same team just was too much for Queen's Quest, since at the time, it was unrealistic to expect Hazuki or Momo to be able to beat them. This one loss would not be the end of their momentum though, as their first match in 2017 saw Queen's Quest challenge for the Artists of Stardom belts. These belts would kind of be associated with Queen's Quest from now on. They would go on to hold it 3 more times after this reign, making up 4 of the 7 reigns starting from 2017 to present day. So, on January 7th, 2017, Io Shirai, Momo Watanabe, and Hazuki challenged and beat Oedo for the Artist belts, making this the first belt for both Momo and Hazuki. Their first, but definitely not their last. Things seemed to be going well for them. They were dominating the ring and holding the triple belts. It seemed nothing could stop their new momentum. That was until Momo Watanabe got injured during practice. which was announced on February 3rd, 2017. With an injured ACL, Momo Watanabe would be out of commission for the better part of 2017. With her being injured though, Queen's Quest were made to vacate the titles, and they were back on the market on April 9th, 2017. So, with Queen's Quest a member down for the foreseeable future, what were they to do? Well, luckily for them, someone else had apparently been wishing to join. With Queen's Quest being down to 2 members and in danger of losing their momentum, someone else decided to take matters into their own hands and request to join Queen's Quest. Azumi jumps to take advantage of Queen's Quest being down a member. Whether this was planned from the beginning, I don't know, but Azumi requests to be a part of Queen's Quest, which Io then tells Azumi how Queen's Quest don't hold hands, you step up or be left behind. Everyone is held at the same level, no one above the other, which as we all know is something that kind of got lost over time for this group. It was a slow process, but over time, Io kind of became the obvious leader of Queen's Quest, and the hierarchy was clearly set in place. But it was never really focused on until much later. They lost a member to injury, but gained one shortly after. Azumi is kind of a special person in Stardom. She's extremely young compared to others, but she is very skilled in the ring. She has been wrestling longer than most of the main roster present day in Stardom. Her joining also goes along with one of my theories that Queen's Quest was really just a way to have the future of Stardom under Io and learning from the best. Azumi is going to run Stardom one day, it's only a matter of time. Already, Queen's Quest's nature of being heels has started to fade away, which is ironic since they lost the person least heel-like and gained Azumi, one of the most natural heels in the company. It wasn't long after Azumi joined that Queen's Quest morphed into the tweener group we know today. It was hard to call them heels when they didn't really cheat or use dirty tactics more often than any other group. If anything, they tended to use less cheap tactics, since the common trope of teammates coming into the ring to help their teammates seemed to not be a priority to Queen's Quest. There were many times where one of the members were getting ganged up on and you could see the Queen's Quest members doing nothing to help them. They really set themselves as a very do or die, stand up on your own type group. On April 15th, 2017, Queen's Quest won back the belts they lost due to injury before. This would be Queen's Quest's second reign. Unfortunately, like their first reign, they lost this one shortly after with no successful defenses. While it's a good thing they added Azumi, it's also kind of their downfall for the remainder of the year. You see, while Azumi is very talented for her age is what stops her from moving up. In Stardom, I've noticed you don't really get a decent push until you're at least around 18 years old. It might be because it's kind of hard to believe a 14-year-old could beat a grown woman in a wrestling match. So, in pretty much all of their matches where Queen's Quest lost, Azumi took the pin. She was the weak point that their team didn't really have before. Azumi at this time could be pinned by pretty much anybody in the company, so it was going to be much harder for Queen's Quest to win. On May 6, 2017, the Chibis took away the belts from Queen's Quest, which they would shortly after win back on June 4th, 2017. Around this time, the future of Stardom wasn't certain. It had been announced that both Kairi Hojo and Io Shirai were going to be leaving for the WWE. This very obviously seemed like a terrible thing for Queen's Quest. While they tried to always act like everyone on the team are equals, it's very clear that Io Shirai was the linchpin to victory. With Io Shirai leaving, Queen's Quest was in trouble. They had become the target for Oedo Tai to pick on with Io Shirai's absence. Hazuki could kind of defend herself, but Azumi was too weak to really take on anybody from Oedo Tai. So, on July 30th, 2017, in a 3-way tag match, Hazuki got pinned by Kagetsu. Now, this alone wouldn't mean much. Queen's Quest were at a severe disadvantage in this match. It's what happens after that matters. Queen's Quest does what they do best and starts beating on Azumi and Hazuki. It seems like they would be annihilated, but you can actually see Viper trying to stop them, showing that Viper might not agree to how Oedo Tai acts anymore. Luckily, Io Shirai makes a return and beats down Oedo Tai, announcing her comeback. It's clear that with Io back, Queen's Quest were going to be running things again. Then, in a super smart move by Io, she invited Viper to join Queen's Quest. Having Viper join would be a huge asset to them. Viper is kind of unstoppable in Stardom, and would really help balance out Azumi's weak status on the team. Throughout Queen's Quest's existence, their main adversaries have been Oedo Tai. It wasn't until Viper defected and joins Queen's Quest that feud really started to kick up. It wasn't out in the open, but at the time Momo Watanabe returned, Oedo Tai and Queen's Quest were one wrong move away from ripping each other's heads off. On November 4th, 2017, Momo Watanabe returned from her injury, coming back to a very successful team as since August 13th, 2017, Queen's Quest held the Artist of Stardom belts once again. On her return, she ended up losing to Chris Wolf from interference from Oedo Tai, which isn't anything new, but remember, Momo had been out with an injury for the better part of a year, and this was her return match. She would have won her comeback match if it wasn't for the interference, and let me tell you, this is what finally broke the wall holding back this feud. Momo was livid. With her return, we see a new Momo, someone who is filled with anger and is dangerous. You can see that Momo's return was the spark that finally lit the fuse to this feud. They would go on to battle against Oedo Tai until their famous gauntlet match. Before we can get to the gauntlet match though, we need to talk about another important match that was a part of Queen's Quest's history. Their constant attempts to annihilate each other. One thing that I always liked about Queen's Quest is that the few times they battled each other, it was absolutely barbaric. It was very hard hitting and I loved it. So on December 24th, 2017, Hazuki challenged Io Shirai for the Wonder of Stardom belt. This match is phenomenal, the match that elevated Hazuki to a serious threat in the Stardom roster. Before I mentioned that there really was never a leader or a hierarchy to Queen's Quest until much later. Well, in this match, Hazuki shed some light on the fact that she believes Io tends to think of herself as the leader of Queen's Quest, and Hazuki wasn't having any of it. This match shows very well the philosophy of Queen's Quest. There is no holding back. Even though they are from the same team, Io is not going to pull any of her punches. She will crush you. The feud between Oedo Tai and Queen's Quest had finally come to fruition when on January 3rd, 2018, they set up the match that would forever change Oedo Tai, the Gauntlet match, where the last person to lose has to leave their team. So either Tam Nakano or Momo Watanabe are going to have to leave their teams after the match on January 21st, 2018. The match was really great and had a lot of drama and kept you on the edge of your seat. Tam Nakano lost against Momo Watanabe, causing Tam Nakano to leave her group. Again, this fight brought out the sadistic side of Momo as she taunts Tam in a way that shows she's clearly enjoying it. With Queen's Quest protected and whole, they move on and go right back to business. With Hazuki getting her shot at the title, Momo decides it's her turn. On February 18th, 2018, Momo Watanabe stepped into the ring to face Io Shirai, and this match is amazing as well. Anytime two Queen's Quest members step into the ring against each other, it's nothing short of beautiful. Just like with Hazuki, Momo loses this match as well, showing that Io's time as their leader and mentor is not over just yet. They would have plenty of time together. Or so they thought. Let's jump to April 15th, 2018, where Stardom is thrown for a loop. It was announced that Stardom would have a faction draft. Each faction would have a captain, and those captains would fight for picking order. At the time, Team Jungle was not considered a separate team for some reason, and was absorbed into Stars. Io Shirai was obviously the captain for Queen's Quest, Kagetsu for Oedo Tai, and Mayu Iwatani for Stars. This draft would prove to be a sad day for Queen's Quest, as Io was not able to get every member back, as Kagetsu chose to pick Hazuki before Io could. Now the original member was gone and joined their main rival faction. Since then, Hazuki has come to terms with her new team and has become another cheating, lovable heel like the rest of Oedo Tai. While Queen's Quest lost a main member, they gained a new main member, Konami. Konami was an amazing pick for them at the draft, as she is one of the best technical wrestlers in Stardom right now. She had always been a beast, and has only gotten that much more amazing since joining Queen's Quest and signing to Stardom. Everything seemed to be going pretty great for Stardom. They had a cool 4-faction war going on, some of the best up-and-comers in wrestling, and their shining star, Io Shirai. That was until rumors started spreading that Io Shirai was going to try and work for WWE again, and that she never actually stopped trying after she got turned down before for medical reasons. As you can expect, this caused a lot of uncertainty in the fan base. Would Stardom be okay without their ace? What would happen to Queen's Quest if they lost their leader? Whether they were ready or not, Hazuki, Momo, and Jungle Kiona were thrust into the spotlight from this. Rumors say that they had planned on having Momo beat Io for the white belt before Io ever knew she was going to leave for the WWE. I don't know if I believe that, but I'm willing to accept it if that is the official word. With news of Io Shirai leaving, Momo got one more shot at Io's white belt. On May 23, 2018, Momo Watanabe did what so many have tried and failed in the past: beat Io Shirai for a singles belt. This match was more than just a title match though, it was metaphorically passing the torch to the next generation. While Io Shirai's time was done in Stardom, everyone else would go on. Momo Watanabe became the temporary leader of Queen's Quest and got shot into the main card. With Io Shirai leaving Stardom, Queen's Quest has been in a state of trying to prove to everyone that Queen's Quest was more than just Io Shirai. A new leader has not been chosen until recently, where at the July 5th, 2018 press conference, Queen's Quest stated that Azumi was going to be the new leader. I don't know if they were being serious or not, but since Azumi technically has more wrestling experience than both Momo and Konami, it kind of makes sense. It is still up in the air about how serious the statement was, but I'd be perfectly okay with Azumi being the new leader of Queen's Quest. The current day objective of Queen's Quest is to bring all of the belts to Stardom, and with their lineup, they could potentially do that, but I doubt it'd be anytime soon. So there you have it, a brief history of the military group masquerading as a wrestling faction. Queen's Quest has had a bumpy history, plagued with injury, direction changes, and members leaving. They never really had an easy path, which perfectly describes their mentality of being a member of Queen's Quest. They are the type to stand there watching their faction member get ganged up on and wouldn't move a finger to help them. I can't speak for everyone, but I personally love them for it. There has been many times I busted out laughing because one of the members were getting attacked by like 3 Oedo Tai members, and another member is literally standing right there just blocking the crowd and not helping. This is a do or die team. You stand up, you fight, you win. You have no one but yourself to reward for victories and blame for losses. I believe what Queen's Quest is now was needed in Stardom. Oedo Tai being lovable heels, Stars being justice fighters, and John being overly energetic powerhouses, Queen's Quest kept things grounded. They were there to show you a damn good wrestling match, and it was rare to leave unsatisfied in that aspect. It's not a coincidence that the wrestlers being groomed as the future of Stardom are mostly either currently members or were at one time Queen's Quest members. Queen's Quest is my favorite faction in Stardom. Their viciousness and ability always astounds me, and I look forward to every single match that has a member of Queen's Quest in it. Let's hope that we get as many years of Queen's Quest in the same way that Oedo Tai is kept alive with different members over time.